Hello, my name is Anthony Vernon with B10.com, and I'm here with the one, the only, the Proto Mario. How you doing?
I'm great.
I think you can declare yourself the ultimate Pokemon master in many
I
ways.
like I like to think of myself as that, yes.
He basically has way over 1,000 videos and continues uploading, I'd say, just a lot, almost daily, if not daily. And man, he has hundreds and hundreds of Pokemon videos. If that's your thing, then you will like Proto Mario. He's not only a game theorist, but he is also a Let's Player. Anything else that you'd like me to add to that, or is that pretty much a good description of you?
I do LPs on the side, but that was never the main focus on my channel. I like to do game reviews a lot, but a lot of people don't come to my channel for that because I don't do day one game reviews, and I kind of have something against people that do that. But I
Then you're against
I've
me.
I it's not so much websites like IGN and stuff like that, but it's like every single person on YouTube that throws up the day one review. Every like, if a game releases tomorrow and you go and Google it on YouTube, there's gonna be like 20,000 day one
Easily.
reviews. Yeah, and that's my problem, man. The market's so saturated. But I like to do game reviews. I like to do theories, and I like to do gaming related news stories also.
Right. All right. So we're gonna have a couple questions here for the one, the only, the legendary Pokemon Master Proto Mario. And the first question is going to be a Pokemon related one because that's what you're best known for, assumingly, despite
Sure.
you having the Mario logo and all that. So the first question is: This is which would be your Pokemon Dream Team? One, based off basically your six favorite, and two, which team would you like the best for if you had to battle someone?
My Pokemon Dream Team is the almost all Kanto Pokemon. You can put them in
Classic.
there. I like a lot of gold and silvers, but there's a lot of fillers in there too, like the baby Pokemon and Togepi and Igglybuff. And those are just
Right,
filler
like the
Pokemon.
Pichus and stuff got in there.
Yeah, man, I've never enjoyed those Pokemon. But, like, I've always liked the flying, surfing
Right,
Raichu, Machamp, Gengar, Alakazam, Golem.
right.
I've liked the starters, Crobat, Steelix. I've always been fond of Poison and Steel types, so that's usually what I battle with.
Right. All right.
Uh,
In terms of de-evolution, you're against when the creators of Pokemon do the de-evolutions. What's your reasoning behind it?
because it's so useless. You know, you want to take things to the next level, and then they go back one. It's like, okay, so when Gold, Silver, and Crystal came out, everyone nowadays knows that a lot of those Pokemon were supposed to be in the original, but due to game memory limitations, they couldn't put them in. So to pad it out, they added a bunch of extra de-evolutions and stuff like that, like Smoochum and Elekid and Magpie, and it adds nothing to it. Like, who battles online with Elekid, Magpie, and all the baby Pokemon? Who? No one does that unless there's a special
Right.
tournament rule for it. And then those that have to get those Pokemon, most of the time they can be avoided by just catching them directly. A lot of
Yeah.
the time, to get like Pichu or Smoochum, sometimes they add in mechanics where you have to breed them with a special item. So that's just another thing that you have to go out of your way to do just to obtain that
To get
Pokemon.
more hours to make the game feel like it's longer.
Yeah, pad it out.
I think I have a different reasoning for it personally. I feel like it more ruins the story of Pokemon because it just it just ruins why would something go back in evolution? Why are there no de-evolved forms of this in Kanto? It just kind of makes the story look dumb in a sense.
Right, and Snorlax and Munchlax is just like
Ah,
that. Like,
Munchlax.
where did Munchlax come from?
Yeah,
Where
exactly.
where did Mime Junior come from?
Or Pichu, or just anything else that's
Any
not.
any one of them, man. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, but still, I get the point of it, and some of them are, I guess, interesting. Like there are. and they still get requested rarely, but there's some that could use a good de-evolution, that could use some good, but it does seem kind of like filler.
Right.
So, alright, you yourself are a Nintendo man, correct?
I like all consoles, but if I was a kid, then I guess yes.
Alright, as a kid, but other aside from Nintendo, since your channel is a Nintendo focused channel, aside from the Nintendo games that you have or use, what are other consoles or just games from other consoles you're very interested into, and reasons being?
I like Halo a lot because I find the story very engaging and the gameplay tight and responsive. I really, really liked Halo Reach and Halo 4 and Halo 3. I didn't have a chance to play Halo 2 because I was in the military at the time, and
Right.
so, then Halo 3 came out, and I didn't have a lot of time to play that because, once again, I was in the military. But, I like Halo a lot. For a lot of other consoles, I don't have specific games that I extremely like for the most part. I mean, there are games that are on the Xbox that are also on the PS3, but they're
Right.
not console exclusives.
No, of course.
I like a lot of arcade games. I really.
Oh, you're one of those
enjoy
people that takes advantage of summer sales.
yes, Steam summer sales, man. They murder my wallet.
Big Steam ham. Also.
Yeah, I have about 200 Steam games.
Woo!
Yeah, and most of them are indie, so it's not like I've spent maybe $2,000. It's more like I maybe spent like 200 altogether, because the sales I get. Sometimes games are 75 cents, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of games I enjoy. I enjoy portable consoles the most. I like the Nintendo 3DS a lot. I like the PSP because it's hacked and has all kinds of ROMs on it.
Right.
So it's nice. It's nice to be able to have that.
Speaking of Steam, what do you believe is the value of the Steam marketplace?
Well, direct download is the future eventually, but it can only be the future when everyone accepts that to be the truth. So as long as there's consoles pumping out disc-based media, I would say that the value is going to be up there with Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo. But when digital download takes over, it's going to be through the roof.
A lot of Xbox, even a lot of the consoles integrate the digital download along with the disc.
Yes.
You don't have to get the disc, but a lot of people still do. And the only reason I still get discs is, one, it just is a lot. I guess, I don't know. It just seems more secure. Like, you have the game more. It's just something you're used to.
Right. I always like to present this scenario. Yeah, it's not the biggest deal that you don't have the disc for the game, but say in 20 years when the servers are down, how are you going to re-download those games? You won't be able to.
No, you have to, buy them again off the marketplace and stuff
Yep.
like that. But, I guess, will anyone really be playing, GTA 5 in, let's say, I don't know, 20, 30 years is what you're talking about? I mean, by then they'll have GTA 10 and it'll be really gritty and they'll let you do nothing.
Right,
The sandbox will be all desert and like 2 buildings of city.
Yeah, I always have gone off the assumption that if people are still willing to play the original Mario Brothers, Pong, things like that, these games will be played, not as avidly, of course, but some of the more obscure titles. There's
Right.
games that are forgettable. You can throw them away, things like that, because they just mesh in. Maybe it's the second entry in the series. Some people enjoy Halo 2 a lot,
Yeah.
but if there's 20 Halos, Halo 2 may be the forgotten entry over the course of the years.
Oh yeah, and Halo 1 is definitely most remembered out of all those.
Right, and what about Halo Reach? What about Halo ODST?
Yeah, but I think Halo shines the most out of it all because, to be honest, I feel like that's even the best game in the series, despite being the oldest. It's just because it just introduced the series and the franchise, and two, it just, I don't know, it played more smoothly. It actually wasn't as glitchy, which is kind of surprising. That the older it's gotten more glitchy. So it just it just seems like the best game in the series and the most solid in story, most grounded, just basic control wise. It doesn't look as pretty, but you can take that away.
I like the update that was released on the
The
360.
CE.
Yeah, that I played through that entirely, and it was a very fun game to play through.
Yeah, but do you feel? I think that a lot of games now they lose that length value. I mean, other than games like I think Portal's one of those games that kind of like Super Mario will get played again and again throughout,
Right.
time and time. Like right now I'm currently replaying Portal and it's just wonderful to just play that game over and over again.
It's very fun.
It
With
is.
the games that come out today, it's very fun to revisit these games that introduce mechanics that are more than just pick up the gun and shoot the bad guy.
Yeah, but do you feel like games now have as long as of a shelf life as let's say games from the past like Pitfall, Pac-Man, Galaga, Super
Well,
Mario's, or and Sonic, or do you feel like games now are losing their value a lot quicker?
I think a lot of people forget that games back in the 1980s and 1990s used to cost a lot of money. I've been doing a lot of research into older consoles that were just terrible, obsolete. They didn't go anywhere. 32X Virtual Boy, things like that.
Yeah,
These game consoles, when games released, they were $60 to $70,
yeah,
and back in the 1990s,
80s, 90s,
1980s,
yeah.
that was a lot more money than it is today. So just imagine inflation on top of that.
True.
So
That's like
when you
140.
bought,
Yeah, let me think. No.
yeah,
Yeah, I
when you
can't
put,
think. It's I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of inflation. Um, oh shoot, I remembered the ratio a while ago, but I can't remember now. But
that's all right. When
$60
you
for anything still ridiculous, no matter the time
right,
period.
when you take into account that you paid $70 for Doom on the 32X and it is not anything that exceeded your expectations and it only lasts 2 hours, you're going to feel bad. But
Right.
today, if you pay $60 for something like Grand Theft Auto 5 and you just play through the story and you go as quick as you can, it might take you 3 or 4 days to beat it because it's such a lengthy game.
Actually, I had some friends who they just went through it quick. They actually beat the campaign in I want to say about a day, and
Well,
they got all the collectibles and all the achievements within a week.
well, there you go.
They
1
were
week.
rushing through that one. It was just a group of like 10 people.
Right, and there are other games out there that are meant to extend your gameplay. Dark
Yeah.
Souls 2, with how many times you die. I wouldn't suggest making a game like that, but hey, it extends the gameplay.
Actually, it's funny. The original Sony in Japan, they didn't want to distribute the game further because of how often you died. That's great.
Right.
But I don't know. I guess that does extend the gameplay, but it can also be annoying at the same time. I guess difficulty. It's just a hard thing to balance. And
It's interesting because I don't like Dark Souls or Dark Souls 2 for the fact that it's very difficult and it's a very deep game, but I really enjoy Spelunky, which has the exact same mechanics. You get one life, and if you die and start over from the beginning.
right,
So,
which is a lot of games.
yeah, so what is it about Dark Souls that just turns me off so much that Spelunky doesn't?
I
I don't
think
know.
it just silently reminds you every single time. And
Right.
and actually, those ridiculous monsters were kind of an add-in after Japanese hackers went into the system and they started like getting the game early. Then the monsters were added in, so a lot of the monsters that are in there don't feel like they're supposed to be in there, and they're just kind of thrown in there just to make it harder. It feels
Well,
like stuff is thrown in more than actually supposed to be there. That's at
yeah,
least
it
my theory.
definitely seems like the case for sure.
Because the game went through more development cycles because of difficulties with distribution, hackers, early downloads, and just demand for, a harder game,
Right.
which makes no sense why you'd want to get owned, but over and over. But hey, fans are weird.
Different strokes for different folks. No judgment from me.
Agreed. But back to Halo, kind of. I'm kind of looking at first-person shooters as a genre, and I'm starting to get away from them more. And I wish that the third person was back, playing through games like. Have you played through Deadpool at all?
Yes, I played through the
Yeah,
entire game.
playing through games like that, I feel like games need to get to sort of closer to that sort of game. Like I feel a lot of other than like Team Fortress and Portal, I'm not really and Borderlands actually forgot to include that one. I'm not. I see first person shooters as a kind of a dying genre, and the only like shooters I really like are the goofy ones. But do you
Right.
feel like the serious first person shooter still has room as a legitimate game, seeing that every Call of Duty is a repeat, every Battlefield's getting worse, and whatever other person tries to compete with them is
Yeah.
just failing.
I feel that games like Doom and Wolfenstein can pave the way. Bioshock Infinite was wonderful. It was a wonderful first person shooter game. There have been good Call of Duty games. Call of Duty 4 and World at War paved the way. They were great. Halos paved the way. They were great. And unfortunately, when there's such success on such a phenomenal level, all these companies come and copy their style, and then every day you wake up and you turn on your Xbox, you feel like you see an advertisement for a new first-person shooter, and that saturates the market, and then that turns off people to that style and genre, and it kills the genre, and it makes me sad because I really enjoy first-person shooters. Even the bad ones, I can take it for a little while, but I do feel the same. I feel like they are just carbon copy cutouts, and they are gray, and they all mesh
Yeah.
together.
And the ones that have the most life, like when Battlefield used to be Bad Company and you used to be able to ride around in golf carts and just fling smiley face grenades, or, Team Fortress where you
Right.
limbs fly over the place and Valve points out, like, hey, your head's here. Or Portal where, Glass is, saying some of the, greatest lines in video game history. Or Borderlands, it just is, I don't know, it's just kind of, the art style is weird, so the game comes with a weird sense of humor. I feel like those games keep the genre entertaining. Could you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I do feel that seriousness has a place. I enjoy games that are very gritty, based around real wars that tells a good story. But I also feel that comedy has its place, and it is very acceptable in the first person genre. The Stanley Parable for Steam is a first person perspective that takes no shooting into account, and there really isn't anything to solve there. It's an interesting game that is a new, fresh take on first person perspective environments.
Have you seen Arrogant Signal video on that?
No, I haven't.
It's a very good insight on the game and kind of the meaning of the game and the meaning of certain of the ideas that the messages that games can send. And it's a very insightful video. And actually, he's someone to check out for insight into games, kind of like yourself with Pokemon theories.
Right.
Except you're figuring out what the sex appeal of Misty is over other things.
Well, I try to steer away from those, but unfortunately, sometimes the fans just won't stop asking for them until you answer. And then when you answer, they stop.
Right.
I have had requests for me to figure out how Pokemon make eggs, how Pokemon have sex to make eggs, and how people go to the bathroom in Pokemon.
What?
Yeah, they want me to figure out how they go to the bathroom.
But they're human. Oh wait, you mean the Pokemon?
Oh no, both.
What? Who's asking about the people?
You would be surprised.
Have they not taken a basic anatomy class?
I think a lot of them don't ever see Ash, Misty, or Brock use the bathroom, so they just assume that there's some kind of conspiracy going on.
But couldn't they just also assume that they're going off into a bush or something?
Right, and yet I still get these comments pouring in all the time.
Man, those must be interesting. You
It's
have to
ho-
you have
it's
to show
hard.
your friends and be like, do you see these people? Do you know? Wow.
I like to show my love Jen all the time comments like that, so that she knows I'm not insane.
Right, that you're more normal than everyone else.
She has her moments where she wonders why I do a theory on this or that, but then she thinks back and sees the comments.
Like, honey, what are you talking about right now? Well,
Yeah.
I have these fans, and they're asking me toilet questions.
Yes.
All right, do you feel like, do you listen to your fans a lot, obviously, and do you feel like all YouTubers should be in that position, or do you feel it's just based upon the person and what they make in their content?
I know a lot of people argue with me on this. I know there will still be people who will argue with me on this. I feel that if your job is YouTube, your job should be listening to the people who made you what you are. It is ignorant to sit here and write off the people that are giving you good constructive criticism. It's ignorant to write off comments, and it's ignorant to write off ideas when they're the ones who gave you the job in the first place. You know, it doesn't matter if you have 1 million subscribers. At 110,000 plus, I can keep up. I can reply to the comments that need replying to. And I'm never going to advocate to reply to a comment that says something like, hey, I like that game. What do you reply to that? You don't need to reply to that. But if there's a comment that's
I like it too.
asking you something, you know?
Right. That's good. I can appreciate that. I mean, sometimes certain channels are way too big. I doubt PewDiePie or any of the Achievement Hunter channels could, have the room to reply to everyone. But I guess certain channels and certain people who have, dedicated time can.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Even if they couldn't, they could always bring aboard someone.
That's true.
And pay them. And like, I'm not saying pay the guy $80 a day.
Oh, no.
But with the money that those channels bring in, I know for a fact that they could afford a staff member to do that. But, I'm not demanding that anyone do that. I'm not. I'm truly not. I'm just offering an option there if you wanted to do that and you couldn't. If your excuse is that, oh, I'm just way too busy, well then, here, use a little bit of your money, hire a person, and tell them to reply to your comments.
Right. And, what are your favorite fan videos that you've done, like videos you've done because of fan questions or a fan asked, or just,
fan videos, huh? Oh, I did a video about Ash being dead, but like ghost Pokemon possessing their trainers, and I was asked that. I've done a video about Pokemon eating other Pokemon and people eating Pokemon.
That's in the Pokedex, that stuff, and it's in the game. Those are some dark stuff that Game Freak does.
Really wakes you up and makes you realize that this isn't a happy-go-lucky world you're in.
They're the subliminal message, I think, kings of all gaming.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone else has been better at being more subliminal. And as a little kid, you just kind of skip that stuff over. And even when you're playing later on, you kind of skip it over because you already know the goal.
You really do. When you first reach Lavender Town, you really don't think anything of it. At first, you're just like, oh, la, da, 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 da. And then you go in the tower and you're like, oh, okay, graves. Okay, yeah, animals die. That's okay. And then it kind of hits you. It's like, oh.
This music's starting to get to my head.
I actually like the Lavender Town song.
It's very good, actually, for 8-bit.
Yeah, and the remix, too. But, there's been a lot of theories. There's a lot of things people ask me that I would love to do a video on, and I just can't. There's no evidence for it. Like, okay, the Lavender Tower has graves in it, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever thought how there are graves in the ceiling?
Well, what they could do is they could dip the roof. What you do is you have space in between. You make the floor thick. And what you do is you put, you could just put the caskets in there, close stone, and kind of put them like shelves. You have the roof, the floor as shelves. You dig down. That's one way.
But that's the thing. That's how I solve these theories. But because there's no evidence as to how the tower was built, who built the tower, this and that.
You can't do it.
I can't. I just don't have the evidence.
Right, it's a logic thing, but...
Yeah, and people ask me stuff like that all the time.
Actually, that's a good question, though. And I guess, it's kind of funny that someone can make a living off of, talking about stuff in video games. But it's crazy that we're at this point now.
Yeah, never in my life as a child would I have thought that this would have been a possibility.
And something you would even make money off of, let alone just do goofing around with friends or by yourself or whatever.
Right? I remember back way in the early 90s getting on the internet and just there was nothing, man. It was like the public library without the kids section as a child. It was just blah. There's nothing.
And yeah, when a lot of that stuff in the 90s, they were, they couldn't make any money off of it yet because they didn't know how. So basically, it was just a mess, the internet in the 90s.
It really was.
But that's the thing that's crazy about technology and even gaming technology, how fast things are progressing.
Oh, yes.
And that's amazing when something like Battlefield 4 comes out, a game that millions and millions of dollars on have been dumped into, and they can't get the servers to work.
I love talking about Battlefield 4. I enjoy that game.
It's a good game, but
yeah,
you can't get onto it.
And you just, boy, I'd love to play the game if I could.
I
That'd
mean,
be great.
that's what makes it a bad game, actually, and that's what makes it worse. The worst installment in the franchise.
Right.
One, I mean, it didn't deviate that much from number 3, and number 3 wasn't that great. I mean, it's good, but it's not. It's better than 3, but it becomes worse than 3 once you can't play it.
Yeah, when you can't play the game that you purchased, it really causes a problem. I bought the premium pack in the past so that I could get everything, and I don't even play it anymore because I can barely get onto a server. I can barely play a game without the game freezing in the middle of the match, and it was just too much for me.
Yeah, I swear they need to call it Valve, because I've never had problems with any Valve server.
I've rarely had problems with Halo also.
Yeah, but seriously, I mean, there's so many people logged on to Team Fortress and Counter-Strike and Dota at once. It's amazing how they can just handle it all so well. They have so much traffic.
Yeah, maybe they should talk to Blizzard also with World of Warcraft.
Blizzard does
good. 3.
Yeah, what company does League of Legends, whoever that company is also runs their servers well.
Right.
Yeah, you think, I mean, Valve's a big game company, but they're not nearly making as much as EA is to release Battlefield.
Yeah, a lot of people don't think. Like, everyone that talks about EA, they always forget that EA also owns Madden and FIFA.
Yeah.
And almost every sports entry. Almost.
That too. And those servers, I mean, no one's really on those servers, so they're not bad. But you think a game that would dump in that much money from pretty much having all the sports franchises, both of the top-selling first-person shooters, or no, wait, do they? I think they did for a while. They have some of the top-selling games. Either way, you think a company that just has so much to, spare and spend could at least get a server to work right for their biggest project at the time?
Yeah, that's how I feel.
I don't know. Go Valve either way.
Right?
Yeah. Every time I hear that Valve, that little like the doom, the deep dark noise that Valve has before the company, I'm like, I'm ready for a good game, ready for a good game.
Right.
My you play Left 4 Dead and you're just like that, that's another first person shooter that's run well. And
yes.
That's and it's such a typical game. It's like it's a zombie shooter, but it's just done so effectively.
Yes, it is.
Have you also, speaking of zombies, are you a fan of the Rust Daisy style games?
I don't like zombies at all. I just have an intense fear of the end of the world. I swear to God.
Did that Will Smith movie freak you out, I Am Legend?
No. I feel that zombies are, even though it is almost 100% impossible, I just feel that zombies would be probably the worst fate imaginable.
I don't think zombies are that bad. I mean, I've read just the way zombies are. There's Crack.com does an article on why zombies shouldn't be feared, and it's really funny and really true.
Right, and I understand that humans couldn't live past 3 weeks, even zombified. They probably couldn't live past 3 days.
Oh, actually, it's the opposite. It's why the people would easily beat the zombies. It's a Crack.com article, and it's actually very well done. It's hilarious. But
I'll definitely check into it.
Yeah, a lot of the theories. The main issue is that zombies are the predator is their prey. So, for example, the food is also hunting them down at the same time. So it's very hard for a species to be successful when the thing you're trying to eat is also trying to get you at the same time.
Right.
That's one theory. But if you log on to Rust, and it's a good game. It's made by the same person who did Gmod, and I don't know how big his team was. It might have been just a few people, but in that game, it's kind of like Daisy, and it took advantage of the success Daisy had, but you can never find the zombie.
Yeah, I've heard that they took the zombies out,
I
actually.
think they did, but it's a survival game. I think they still have on certain servers you can find zombies, but it's mainly a survival game, and I can't. I suck at it, man. I'm just running around with my rock, getting shot by everyone. No, no! I tried to kill a hog with a rock, and what made it funny into my face even more. The day I bought the game, the next day there was a sale on it,
Oh,
and I didn't
yeah,
know.
that's painful.
It's okay. It's still $20, and it's a lot better than what you're gonna get out of many first-person shooters. Battlefield
That
4.
is that is true. That is true.
But no Daisy, no Rust.
Not for me, no. No,
Eh,
no, no.
So these independent games you're listing through, just name some of the ones you've just been big impressed with.
I like Spelunky, Risk of Rain.
Never heard that one.
Risk of Rain is very similar to Spelunky, but it requires you to play the game as quick as possible. The
Right.
more time you take, the harder the enemies get. So, yes, your level will progressively level up with the more enemies you kill, but in exchange, the enemies will get harder every 5 minutes.
Right.
So, the objective is to beat the game within 60 minutes before it gets to the hardest difficulty.
Right.
It's a difficult game because there's a risk versus reward system. Do you give up time in exchange for random treasure chests or power up items that could help you defeat the game easier? Or do you run through it and hopefully defeat an easy final boss?
Right.
So I like Risk of Rain a lot. I like Spelunky a lot. There's a good number of indie games that I've truly enjoyed. There's a ton on Xbox Live Arcade also that I have played.
Just all the Spelunky style games are just your thing.
Yeah, I like them a lot. Rogue's Legacy is another one that is very, very fun. It's Spelunky-esque. I don't know why I really go for those under the indie developed. Desktop Dungeons is a very fun game that my love enjoys to play, as well as Don't Starve and
Heard of Don't Starve.
It's very good. I can't do anything. I went into the forest and I set everything on fire. And
did you starve?
Died. Yeah, I died. I caught on fire.
Oh, you didn't starve.
No,
well, hey, you didn't starve. You beat the game.
Yeah.
Don't starve. You didn't. You died of fire.
I like Papers, Please, but I suck at it. My love is much, much better at it. And I like Gone Home, despite there being a much deeper story in it. I just really enjoy how it's done.
Gone Home, another Arrogant Signal video for that one, too.
There's a lot of games that I really enjoy that are on the indie sector. Super Meat Boy is another one. Bastion.
Man,
Limbo.
but Super Meat Boy gets so frustrating.
Yeah, I did everything in it.
Bastion's cool, but man, Super Meat Boy is... come on, no, stop sliding, no! Razors, no!
I liked Super Meat Boy, but I completed it, and I don't think I'll ever touch it again because so much went into that.
Right.
And Bastion is probably one of my most favorite story-based games because just at the end of the game, the whole entire game is flipped upside down, and you just don't know what to do. What? You're given 4 different choices, and each choice will impact the entire game that you just played.
Yeah, it's very good like that. But it's also a way to lengthen, game time instead of the traditional. I guess Bastion does a good job with the, four stories choice because a lot of times in games when they have the four different choices for four different endings, they aren't very different or they don't do
Right.
much. And but in Bastion they do a very good job at
Yeah.
making sure your path, does something.
Fable 3, or not 3, but Fable 2, the ending was just probably my most hated ending of any video game.
All right, well then another channel, Zero Punctuation. That's
Oh, yeah,
ripped.
yes, I've seen that.
Love his ripping of everything.
It's so, Fable 2 so bad. Everything's so great up until that point. Yeah, the outfits and yeah, the bosses weren't as great as Fable 1. But man, when you get to the ending, it is just such a sucker punch to you. It is just, you're like, really? That's it? Really?
Yeah, but a lot of things can end up like that because I don't know, just writers run out of room, or just someone made a decision that wasn't so good, or they need to end the game already because they didn't want to spend extra money.
Right, yeah. And thanks to the research I've been doing recently with different consoles and stuff like that, I know all about bad decisions.
Well, I guess a lot of bad decisions people once thought they were good decisions. That's why they went with them.
Ain't that the truth?
But all right. So off the topic of bad decisions, good decisions for what would you say are the best games to play with groups of people? Just your personal opinion.
I think almost any Nintendo-based game. Nintendo has a good reputation for local co-op. GoldenEye from the N64, any Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, quiz games, trivia games, very fun to play with people.
Mario Party.
Yeah.
Until it went on the Wii.
Halos, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And if you have like-minded individuals, then of course, if you have a couple DSs, you could play Pokemon together.
That's true.
Or you could play a couple of the Mario Brothers. There's a lot of games out there that you can play together, and then there's also games on the arcade sector like Castle Crashers. That's a beat 'em up.
Okay, you just mentioned like one of my favorite games of all.
Oh, yes,
that's like
I love Castle.
It might be one of my. It's a top 10 for me. I don't know. I love it so much. Just you play around with people, and a lot of my friends actually just don't like it because they don't find it serious enough, and I just want to pull the Castle Crasher out of the screen and just beat them to death with him.
Yeah, I thought when it released, I was in the military and I used to play with a bunch of people. Whenever I had duty and stuff, they'd be watching me play and they're like, "Hey, what kind of show is that?" Because they thought the graphics were so cartoony, they thought it was a TV show.
Yeah, but
I swear to God.
Which one? Oh, sorry.
I just really enjoy that game a lot.
Which one do you usually pick? Which Crasher?
I like Hattie Haddington with the update. But I used to like to play with the mechanist, the guy with the buzzsaws.
Yeah. Plays the green one. I forget his name. The one with the acid powers.
Oh yeah.
What's his name?
I don't know any of their names.
Wait, what am them? Do the color ones have names? No, right?
I don't think any of them have names besides what people generally call them.
Yeah. The green one,
I know one of them's the Periwinkle Knight.
Oh, that's funny.
But, I guess that's his name?
And the ending is just the final boss in that game. Oh, that brings you back to final bosses from other games that would just stage and stage.
See, Fable 2 compared to an arcade game, a big budget, one of the most anticipated games compared to Castle Crashers.
Which was made by a bunch of Newgrounds developers.
Yeah, and Castle Crashers does better.
Much better.
How is this possible?
Well, just, independent films can often do better than big budget films. I mean, I'd rather definitely watch anything by Tarantino than anything by Zack Snyder, for sure.
Right, and yeah, I can relate there. Pulp Fiction is definitely better than Batman and Robin.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, yeah, Tarantino has a lot of money now, but he still makes his stuff by himself. He doesn't get as big of a budget as, Batman and Robin.
Right, and
And so,
I understand that, but it's just how can you do this stuff? How can companies justify making games that are half good, half terrible? How?
I don't know, it just so happens to be who you end up recruiting. A lot of times big companies think money first and then, creativity second. So the creative people just end up doing their own stuff. They end up making the Portals and the Pulp Fictions of the world, and then
Right.
leaving behind the Battlefields and the Fables, and yeah. So,
Yep.
huh? Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yep. All right. So I think that about wraps it up. I want to thank you again so much for doing this with me, Proto Mario.
Sure, man. I'm always willing to talk to anyone that wants to hear my lovely voice.
Lovely is debatable, but I'll give you that one.
Yeah, I'm not arrogant or egotistical at all.
Now, no, I'm kidding. All right. Well, thank you very much again, and signing out.
Yeah, one thing I did want to add before I leave, though, on a serious note, as a large YouTube partner, I might have a lot of subscribers and this and that, but at the end of the day, I'm just a normal human being. Everyone's on YouTube is just a normal human being. It doesn't matter how popular we are. It doesn't matter how godlike we are. When one of us replies to our subscribers, the subscriber shouldn't die. They shouldn't freak out because we're replying. It should just be a normal reaction because we're not gods. We don't sit on golden thrones, and it really bothers me when people get this general idea of it. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knows that I'm just a regular guy like everyone else.
All right. Well, thank you very much again, Mr. Regular YouTuber.
Thank you.
All right.